each relationship that we have is experienced differently between those two people because of the alchemy of their charts.
Mm-hmm.
So on one hand, you can say, I have the personality that I have. It is who I am, sort of finitely. But you could also say that I'm experienced differently in each of my relationships because of the alchemy between our charts. However, the planets are connecting with each other. So that could mean different things with each pairing.
Sure, exactly. And that's what Uranus is about. It's about individuality. You might not be the same person in every relationship because not every relationship appreciates all the unique nuances that is you.
Welcome to the Weekly Transit, a podcast exploring the intersection of Western astrology and Jungian psychology. Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth, while psychology helps us navigate both conscious and unconscious experiences. Together, these tools offer the potential for self-understanding, growth, and transformation. Join astrologer Scott Tajarian and me, psychotherapist Gabriella Durso, as we dive into the cosmic forecast each week.
Welcome to the Weekly Transit. This is the week of July 8th to the 14th. Hi, Gabriella.
Hi, Scott.
This week, the sun transits from 16 to 23 degrees in Cancer, creating some potential challenges for those born between 1977 and 81 or 2016 to 2021. Mars transits from 21 to 26 degrees in Taurus, which may be creating challenges for those born between 1951 and 1956, as well as 1991 to 94. So if you were born in one of those years, take it easy on yourself and lean into the transformation. Go with the flow. Refrain from resisting whatever the transformation is that you may be experiencing. Before we get started, I wanted to thank our sponsors, Suzanne, Sarah, Brenna, Kendra, Jasmine, Janelle, Aline, Ricky, Annie, Haley, and Carrie. Thank you so much for your support, your financial support of the podcast. If you would like to support the podcast financially, you can do so via Spotify. You can sponsor $1, $5, or $10 a month if the content that we are creating here is supporting you in your week and you would like to give back to us. Then you can go to Spotify and make your monthly contribution. And if that is out of your budget, but you would still like to support the podcast, you can subscribe to our channel on YouTube. You can like this video. You can rate us 5 stars on whatever platform you are listening to us on. And you can write a review. If you are listening on Apple, Gabriella and I appreciate all of your support.
Thank you.
Last week, I was talking about Tom Cruise, just to start out there. We're still in Cancer season.
You talk a lot about Tom Cruise.
Oh, my God. You make me sound like a psycho stalker or something, and maybe I am. You know, I grew up in the 80s, and so, like, Top Gun was... I was 10 years old when Top Gun came out, so that was kind of like my matinee idol was Tom Cruise. Yes. But there are things about his astrological code that align with mine. So, but I'm just so curious to know what his birth time is. And of course, it's not out there.
I know. You lose sleep over this.
I do?
Well,
you sleep over me talking about it.
You mention it quite often, so I don't know. I don't know what's happening in your unconscious, but that's between you and Tom Cruise.
Well, I just wanted to clear something up because last week I was talking about how I think he's a Libra rising, but I've changed my mind. I think he's a Virgo rising.
A Virgo rising.
Yes.
Okay.
Because the work that he does on especially his Mission Impossible films, like he's the greatest stuntman who maybe has ever lived. Like when you see the stunts that he's doing in this movie, he's doing all of the stunts. Like in the most recent Mission Impossible, he jumps off a cliff on a motorcycle. He rides a motorcycle off of a cliff and then pulls a parachute. It's base jumping, but a motorcycle. It's insane.
Yeah, I don't think that's a Libra rising
No
trait.
That's why I think he was born at noon.
Mm-hmm.
Because at noon, that means that his rising sign would be 26 degrees Virgo. He was born with Mars at 26 degrees Taurus, which would be aligning directly with his ascendant. So like you said, it doesn't really seem like a Libra rising trait to jump off the side of a mountain or a cliff. Or, in the previous Mission Impossible, he's flying a helicopter through like the mountains. He's like a stunt helicopter pilot. But that Mars aligning with the ascendant, that's why I'm like courageous. Like just the fearlessness, like I'm going to do this thing. I think to prepare for the stunt in the most recent Mission Impossible, he did 12,000 motorcycle jumps, and he jumped out of a plane 500 times. That would have been the equivalent of jumping off of this cliff.
See, that sounds like Virgo rising, because that's that kind of perfectionist, analytical, like I need to get it right kind of attitude.
And that's what a lot of these stunt coordinators say about Tom Cruise, is that his level of focus, his attention to detail is like no one they've ever met. They said for him to get to that expert level is incredibly difficult, but to even do it within the time frame that he did it is unheard of. Like they're like, I don't know anyone that's ever done something so intensely, so quickly, so detailed. So, like he is locked in. So that would still put his sun in the 10th house, but it would put it, I think, right at the midheaven, or might be in the 9th house, but close to the midheaven. So that gives him that urge to achieve goals and ambitions.
I could see it being in the 9th house, because he does have a fiery quality to him.
Well,
he has a warmth.
Exactly. Well, his moon is in Leo, so that's what gives him his star quality. He's emotionally fulfilled by being the center of attention, by being the star. Also, though, he's very humble. Like he always says, I'm incredibly privileged. I understand how fortunate I am to be in this situation. This is why I work so hard. And that's why he spends, like, if he's signing autographs for fans, like he'll stay for over an hour autographing hundreds of items for fans. That's a real Virgo quality of being humble, the humility. But the 9th house does fit into... A
humble movie star is a little bit of a paradox, but I hear you.
Yes.
We'll go with that.
But the 9th house is also indicative of he's very religious, the Scientology.
Right.
And so that's where his Mercury would be. I think that is also where his Mars would be, and potentially that could be where his Sun is. But in addition to his very intense religious beliefs, I've heard him say that he always wanted to live a life of adventure. And that's what I think about when I think of the 9th house. When I think of the 9th house, I think of adventure, exploration, travel, and all of these Mission Impossible movies, they take place in different parts of the world. So enough about Tom Cruise. Let's move into the week. But if there's a public figure that you're interested in out there listening to the podcast, that you would like us to dive into their astrology, make a note on YouTube or on Spotify, or shoot me an email, and I will do my best to look into that, and maybe we'll talk about some more public figures on the show.
It's actually a great way to learn about how astrology is practically showing up for people in, looking at actors and actresses, seeing the roles that they choose that are actually reflections of their own chart is pretty interesting.
Yes. Yes. It is a way to really learn. That's how I learned, was by looking at thousands of charts of public figures, of course also family members, friends, acquaintances, but the public figures, they're so easy to analyze because their lives are public.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at their experiences, you can watch their interviews, you can watch their films, and if they're actors, listen to their songs, if they're musicians, and reflect that upon their astrological code. Or maybe it's a politician, and they're in the public eye as well. And so it's an easy way to really reflect reality with the cosmos.
Mm-hmm. And to learn through tangible examples, too,
Exactly.
is helpful for me.
That's it. This week we'll be highlighting Venus's transit through Leo, which of course is where it was when Tom Cruise was born. I'm sure you wanted to know that, Gabriella. So before we get to Venus in Leo, the week begins with 2 planets in the North Node. We're going to begin here with Mercury, the messenger of the gods, guide of souls to the underworld, the planet of consciousness, communication, and coordination, transiting through the fixed fire sign symbolized by the lion, Leo. Mercury's been transiting through Leo since July 2nd, and it's moving quickly, and it aligns with Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of luck and expansion, transiting through the mutable air sign symbolized by the twins, Gemini, as well as the North Node, which is the soul's purpose, the karmic pathway of the soul, transiting through the cardinal fire sign symbolized by the ram, Aries. These aspects with Mercury, Jupiter, and the North Node are occurring most strongly at the beginning of the week. Really from last weekend to, let's say, Tuesday. The exact alignments are occurring on Monday, but the aspect between Jupiter and the North Node is occurring, it's a much longer transit because they move slower. Jupiter has been aligning in a sextile with the North Node since July 4th. They'll still be within a degree of each other until July 14th. So that's from last Thursday to not this Sunday, but next Sunday.
Okay. So anytime I hear Mercury, I think of this being a transit that we're going to be aware of consciously.
Yes.
So how would you describe, what is it that we will be consciously aware of with these transits?
Well, remember last week we were talking about how Mercury is the planet of the mind, but it's transiting through Leo, which is the sign that rules the heart. So it's connecting our mind to our heart, which should already be connected. They are one. They're part of the same system that we have here in these bodies. But it's really helping you articulate, find the words to express what you're feeling in your heart. Jupiter is transiting through Gemini, which is the sign that's ruled by Mercury. So Jupiter is expanding our conscious awareness, our curiosity, our ability to listen and learn, connect, and communicate. The North Node in Aries, that's directing our soul's purpose in terms of who am I? Who am I? What do I want? What's in it for me? How can I be more authentic, courageous, or confident? So in a sense, Aries is similar to Leo because they're both fire. Like you had said earlier to me, talked about your experiences of Aries and Leo and the difference between their expression of confidence.
Yeah, this came up for me recently because I was interacting with a Leo, And before I knew that she was a Leo, I could tell she was a Leo.
What tipped you off?
It was her warmth,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't the same kind of warmth that I get from that Aries energy.
What's
it was
the difference?
more,
Yeah.
I guess it felt more wholesome to me. There was something gentler about it.
Gentler.
Mm-hmm. And I guess more heart-centered might be another way to describe it.
Yes.
But it felt more sort of enveloping versus like penetrative. Like I think that I experience the Aries energy often as like it's coming at you, not always aggressively, but like there's a penetrating quality to it. And the Leo fire quality is more sort of enveloping. It's like a hug, or it wraps around you instead of kind of goes through you or something.
I love it. I love those analogies. I think of Aries as the spark, and Leo is the fire, like the campfire.
Mm-hmm.
Sagittarius is when the fire leaves the campsite,
like a flamethrower,
and burns down the rest of the forest. But Aries is that initial spark, so that's the penetrative sort of energy. It's Mars. It's ruled by Mars. Mars is a circle of spirit with an arrow pointed in a clear direction. That signifies a penetrating quality.
Mm-hmm.
So with the North Node in Aries, we're being penetrated by that urge to define who we are.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Mercury in Leo is maybe more of that enveloping feeling. It's like, I know who I am. I know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I know what's fun, what I enjoy. I know what I think is funny. That's when people say follow your heart, what does that mean? To me, it means you're enjoying yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You're having fun. You're laughing. You're smiling. You're being playful or creative. And that's the energy of Leo.
Well, that's also kind of a statement around, you're talking about the relationship between the heart and the mind, and this idea of connecting the two.
Yes.
Which I think is not something we talk about a lot, or we sort of maybe understand the relationship between, or I sort of think of them as often being on different pages about things.
How so?
Well, I think this shows up a lot somatically. So when you look at, just your physical body and how do you feel in the world, a lot of us have issues with our throats, especially like autoimmune issues is especially predominantly more of an issue with women. But any sort of disconnect that's happening in your throat or any sort of physical ailment that's manifesting there, I think one way to interpret that is that there's something happening between the head and the heart, the mind and the heart, where there's maybe not a clear line of communication. And so the energy gets kind of frozen in the throat.
Yes.
I've shared before that for me, when I really need to speak up, I often have a strong sensation in my throat of something kind of rising up, needing to be spoken. So that's always an indication to me that maybe there's a split going on for me between the mind and the heart that I'm not really aware of.
And that makes sense because you're a Libra. And Libra is an air sign. And I think of the air signs as the more intellectual signs. They're thinking. Like Libra is thinking about the other person. Gemini is thinking about what can I learn? And Aquarius is thinking differently from everyone else. But it's all thinking. It's all thought based. The fire signs are more energy based. It's that spark, that excitement, that feeling, that warmth. So you've got Jupiter, which is the planetary ruler of Sagittarius, a fire sign, transiting through the sign that's opposite Sagittarius, which is Gemini. expanding that mental process, that curiosity, that willingness to listen and learn. Mercury, the planetary ruler of the air sign Gemini, is transiting through Leo, which is less about thought and more about fun. Like, I don't need, and that's like the disconnect is like, is this fun for me? Am I enjoying this? Like, you know, like, are you asking yourself those questions? Or are you just experiencing the joy of whatever is going on for you?
Well, this reminds me of, we've talked a little bit about human design and how it relates to and includes astrology, but the human design knowledge system says that nobody has their mind as their authority. That the authority, which is how you make decisions, always lives in the body.
Yes.
And so that's part of what I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
Is that the decision-making process, even if we think it's a mental one, that's always secondary to what's happening in the body. That when we have this sense of like, what do I think is fun, that the body is what knows the answer before the mind does. And the mind often comes in as a secondary kind of voice to try and rationalize or validate or measure something that's happened in the body. But that the body is the barometer.
Right.
And the heart is part of the body.
Yes, exactly.
The mind actually isn't.
You don't have a body part that's called the mind.
That's called the mind. Yeah, exactly.
Where is the mind? So that's a great point. And so this transit of Mercury and Jupiter and the North Node, it's expanding our mind, but getting us in our body.
And helping us relate to the two of them.
Yes.
More holistically.
Exactly.
When you look at, I mean, this always kind of blows my mind when I think about, like, why are we so centered around the mind in our Western culture? And we're obsessed with hierarchy. And if you look at the human body, you know,
the head's on
we
top.
believe that the mind is, it's a mental process. It's in the head.
Yes.
The head is on top of the rest of the body. So we experience the mind as having hierarchy over the rest of the body and over the heart, because literally it's, in terms of, we think of hierarchy so literally, it's on top, even though the heart is the center.
Yeah, even though the heart's the center, we're still going from the top down. Like when you think of reading, you don't read from the center of the page and then out like this. You read from top down.
This is why it's so important. I mean, this is like maybe feels like a small thing, but so I grew up going to a Waldorf school, and in the fall, I'm going to start doing some counseling work for a Waldorf school here in LA, which I'm really excited about. And I was visiting the school recently and noticing, looking in all the classrooms, how all of the students spend at least half the day sitting in circles, like sitting in a group circle, and how important it is to orient towards each other that way and have the teacher be a part of the circle.
Yes.
In terms of standing in, rather than always having the teacher standing in front of the class.
Well, where's the teacher? At the head of the class.
At the head of the class.
The head of the class. It's even the way that you describe the hierarchy of the classroom. The teacher's at the head.
Right.
And everyone else is. Yes.
Well, and I remember being a student at Pacifica in my grad program, one of the things that I loved about being there is that we would sit in circles, not for every single class, but, you know, we would rearrange the tables or we would go outside and we would sit in a circle. And that experience of wholeness, of having your body be a part of that circular shape, it changes our relationship with hierarchy. You can recognize in that shape of a circle that each person is contributing equally, each person is seen equally, is holding the same space energetically. It's really a powerful shift.
Absolutely. Our next transit of the week involves Venus, Lady Luck, the goddess of love and beauty, the planet of relationships. And when you look at the symbol for Venus, it looks like a head on a body. It's a circle of spirit on top of a cross of matter, symbolizing your eternal soul in the world of matter and what it senses, the 5 physical senses: sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. Venus is transiting through the cardinal water sign, Cancer, symbolized by the crab. It will be transiting into Leo later this week, but before it does, it forms a sextile, a supportive aspect with Uranus, which looks like Venus except upside down with a crescent of receptivity on either side of the cross of matter. So Venus is the senses, and Uranus is what makes your senses, your likes and dislikes, different from everyone else, unique to yourself. Uranus is transiting through the fixed earth sign symbolized by the bull, Taurus. This transit occurs from July 6th to the 9th. That's Saturday to Tuesday, with inexact alignment on Monday. So Monday's a busy day with these Mercury transits with the North Node and Jupiter, but also mix in Venus and Uranus. I think of this transit as nurturing. What do you want to nurture in your relationships that continues to secure what it is you value in terms of your individuality?
So does that mean choosing the shared qualities in, like, shared interests in the relationship that can be amplified?
I think, like, when you think of these other transits that are occurring at the same time, with the North Node in Aries, it's about who am I? Taurus is what do I need? In order to know what I need to know who I am. And why do I need what I need? I need what I need because it satisfies my heart. It brings me joy. That's Mercury transiting through Leo. So we're all involved in relationships, whether it's a lover, a friend, a business partner, a coworker, an acquaintance. How are your friends celebrating what makes you you? How are you celebrating what makes your friends them? So we've got these transits with Mercury in Leo, Jupiter in Gemini, the North Node in Aries, which is inviting a sense of questioning, curiosity, listening, learning, but reflecting it through your own filter to say, does this resonate with me? Is this fun for me? Do I enjoy this? Do I feel authentic in this relationship? What qualities of the relationship or what parts of the relationship do I want to nurture so that I feel like I'm me, or my partner feels like they're them? Does that answer your question?
It does. I'm just thinking about it might get kind of abstract because each relationship that we have is experienced differently between those two people because of the alchemy of their charts. So on one hand, you can say, I have the personality that I have. It is who I am, sort of finitely. But you could also say that I'm experienced differently in each of my relationships because of the alchemy between our charts. However, the planets are connecting with each other. So that could mean different things with each pairing.
Sure, exactly. And that's what Uranus is about. It's about individuality. You might not be the same person in every relationship because not every relationship appreciates all the unique nuances that is you.
I think we have a tendency to think, though, that authenticity means showing up the same way in every relationship, but I don't think that's actually possible.
Well, you can be authentic, but you don't have to bring every bit of yourself. Like, are you excited about watching the baseball game with me tonight?
No.
Exactly. So, you don't care about that.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that I'm being inauthentic with you if I'm not talking about sports. Right? I'm just bringing the parts of me that work with you. And the parts of me that don't work with you, I save those for my other relationships. And that's what this transit is about. It's about recognizing that there are parts of you that can truly be nurtured in certain relationships. But there are parts of you that aren't going to be nurtured in those same relationships. But they might be nurtured in other relationships.
Well, I think you could say fundamentally that some of the biggest challenges we have in relationships is when we don't do this. When we force someone to try and relate to a quality of ours that they don't want to connect with.
Exactly.
Like if you tried to force me to watch sports, which thank you for not doing that.
Exactly.
But I think that can be a painful kind of shift for people. It's like, but I need to be loved and accepted for every single part of who I am in every relationship, but that's not necessarily possible.
So
would you agree with that?
Yes, 100%. Like people are like, well, they're my everything person, or they want this person to check every single box on the list. But the thing is you still respect, I'm talking about you, Gabriella, still respect who I am, because it's not like you're saying, I don't want you watching sports anymore. You're like, go watch sports. I don't want to be a part of it.
Please wear headphones.
Or go over to your friend's house and watch sports. Like you're not trying to keep me from something that is authentic to me that I enjoy.
Right.
And that's the difference. And that's what Uranus is about. It's about independence. So how can you nurture your relationships? By celebrating what makes your partner unique. Like, I love that Scott loves sports, but I also love that he doesn't try to force it on me. That's celebrating my individuality. I can still be myself around you, but I don't have to bring all of me to you. Because there's certain parts of me that don't fit with you.
This feels really important.
Yes.
And it's not a message I think we get a lot.
And it's so amazing that this is happening before Venus moves into Leo, because Leo rules the heart. So how can you be authentic in relationships if you can't embrace your individuality?
I think we get a lot of messaging around with couples, in particular romantic partnerships, that we always have to be sacrificing. Like, I have to sacrifice doing this thing that's special to you, and then you have to in turn sacrifice doing something that I want to do. And maybe there's a time and a place for that, but I also appreciate this awareness of, why don't we just take some time independently to do those things that really resonate with us, and then come back together and engage in ways that we both enjoy. Like, I think about the image of the Vesica Pisces.
Yep.
It's like, for anyone who doesn't know, 2 circles, and then imagine them overlapping, and there's a center. There's like a shared overlap between the circles. I think that's what you're describing.
Yes.
It's like there's a common ground where you can each relate authentically and appreciate the overlap of what you both enjoy, but it's also healthy to engage independently.
Absolutely.
As well.
Well, and speaking of Pisces, we have the sun, the giver of light, life, and vitality, transiting through Cancer, forming a trine, a supportive aspect with Saturn, the god of wealth and time, the planet of restriction, responsibility, hard work, achievement, and authority, transiting retrograde through the mutable water sign symbolized by the fish, Pisces. This occurs from July 8th to the 12th, that's Monday to Friday, with an exact trine occurring on Wednesday. While Venus, which we were just talking about, as it completes its transit through Cancer, it also forms a trine with Neptune in Pisces. Neptune's transiting retrograde through Pisces. This is at the final degree, the 29th degree. This aspect is occurring from July 9th to the 12th, with an exact trine occurring on Thursday, July 11th, the day that Venus transits into Leo. So when you think of that Vesica Pisces image, that is, to me, that's empathy also. It's that I can relate to this person. I feel what they're feeling. I sense what they're feeling. I have empathy or compassion for them. And so the sun aligning with Saturn in Pisces, the sun's transiting through Cancer. Venus is transiting through Cancer at this last aspect. So it's connecting your roots, your upbringing, your childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured you, your ancestors, to your unconscious, or to their unconscious, the collective unconscious of family.
I was just thinking the collective unconscious, because it's also, this is an energetic exchange.
Yes.
Too.
Yes.
It's not just actively trying to understand someone, but empathy is being able to feel exactly what they're feeling, which to me is an energetic experience.
Totally. And
of where do we overlap. And we know that the collective unconscious is like, it's like the expression, like, it's in the water. It's like,
and these
we're
are two,
all,
and these are two water signs.
yeah, it's like we're
These
all
are
drinking from the same water. And
Yes.
what is the energy we're all consuming that we can understand from that shared experience?
Yep. We're all in the pool together.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in it together. This is Pisces, Cancer. They're two of the most emotional signs. They are water signs. They're very sensitive.
I think about if you have, a pool of water and you drop like one drop of like red dye in there,
It spreads.
it spreads
Yep.
and changes all of the water.
Exactly. That's it. So through these aspects, we want to take responsibility for what's happening within our unconscious.
And what are you bringing into the water?
What are you bringing into, how are you identifying
Mm-hmm.
through your unconscious, through your family relationships? How can you be more compassionate or empathetic or kind in your close personal relationships?
Well, and this is why doing healing work individually supports the group and supports people collectively.
Yes.
Is thinking about this image of how easily water can be kind of corrupted.
That's right. An oil spill in the ocean. It creates a ripple effect.
Right.
Yes. And so that Pisces energy is connecting to all that is. So we really want to emanate the energy of kindness and compassion through these aspects. Because as we move to July 11th, the same day that Venus forms that trine with Neptune, it transits into Leo, the planet of relationships in the sign of the heart. We can express our heart, we can open our heart when we feel cared for, when we feel that sense of kindness. It's like if you would have said, I don't want you watching sports, then I wouldn't feel that kindness or empathy from you. And that would have made it hard for me to open my heart to you.
Right.
But because you are accepting, and through that accepting, you're kind, you're caring, you nurture me, even though you don't like what it is I'm into over there. But you don't hold that against me, because there's certain things that you like and are interested in that I'm not interested in. But I don't hold that against you. The empathy is understanding that there are things that you like that I don't like, things that I like that you don't like, and we don't have to hold it over each other's head like there's something wrong with us. Empathy is understanding that we all have different interests, likes, dislikes, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
Yes. So Venus transits through Leo from July 11th to August 4th. This is a little less than a month. It's a period for us to really open our hearts, to have fun in your relationship. What do you enjoy to do with your various partners, whether it's a lover, a friend, a business partner? How can you have more fun in your relationships? How can you laugh more in your relationships? What can you create that brings about a sense of playfulness and levity or warmth in your relationships? Now, Leo's the sign of games and gambling and creativity and playfulness. So that's the energy that we want to bring to our relationships. What do you enjoy doing with your partner? So that's something for us to talk about. You know, it's like, what do we like doing together? Okay, you don't like sports. I don't know, whatever it is you do. I don't know what that is, but, what do we like doing together? What is fun? This is the time to have some fun with your partner. And it doesn't just have to be a lover. It can be a friend. It can be a business partner.
I think this is, it's framed as such a kind of lighthearted question. Just what is fun, and go do that.
Yes.
But so many of us have a wound around play and around connecting to the heart. And so I think it's not always an easy question.
Well, that's why the transits leading up to this transit are so helpful, because it's supporting you in nurturing your independence and nurturing the independence of those that you're in relationship with. If you feel nurtured, there's a reason why Cancer comes before Leo, because the mother makes the children feel safe and secure to have fun, to laugh and be playful and joyous. It's through that nurturing energy that supports the child in having the courage to be creative and to be the center of attention.
Yeah, I think it could bring up some things, maybe some challenges.
Tell me, what do you think those would be?
Well, you're describing this, how important the relationship is with the home, this Cancer energy, before you can feel safe enough to play or even recognize. I would say some families don't value play in the same way that others do.
Yeah.
So I think your relationship with play, I think we can say, is directly connected to your childhood, because Leo also rules children, the house of children. So this could be an opportunity to maybe not just reconnect with what's fun, but to relearn what's fun for you.
Yes.
But it could bring up some loss. I'm just thinking of, anytime the heart is involved, that there's the potential for some grief to come through, as well as sort of the thinking about two sides of the same coin, joy and grief.
And you go for the downer side of the coin, my love. So grateful for you. Always seeing the dark side. For the Libras, it should be good because you're getting the air is being lifted by this fire energy. But your Scorpio Venus is like, no, there's darkness in relationships and play and joy. So,
well, there can be.
Yes,
that's all I'm saying.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
So, what were you gonna say? Say something else?
Well, I was just going to say, that I would say most therapists are looking at both sides of the coin. That's all.
Yes.
People don't routinely come to therapy to express.
Oh my God,
just
my life is so amazing.
Joy.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think it's a wound that needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah, always. Well, and that's what Venus is, the senses. So wherever it's transiting, it's awakening the senses.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awakening the senses of your heart. And what brings you joy? What kind of food do you like to eat?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of clothes do you like to wear? What looks beautiful to you? What smells beautiful to you? What sounds beautiful to you? This is giving you the courage to really invest in those areas.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have been wounded where you're like, well, I'm not sure what I like, because maybe you've told somebody, oh, I really like this, and they're like, you like that? Oh my God, what's wrong with you? This is giving you that courage to say, you know what, yeah, I do, and you don't like it, and that's fine. I don't care.
Yeah, and giving you the courage to maybe discover what you find is fun and joyful for the first time.
Exactly.
I'm just thinking of all of the children who are parentified.
What does that mean?
Who were praised for taking on parental roles in their families at young ages. So they weren't necessarily
given that opportunity to play.
They weren't praised for their play.
Right.
They were praised for other qualities.
Sure.
And so you end up developing those qualities you're praised for. I think this is very common with the oldest sibling in the family can become that person often, more likely to be parentified. And children, also wanting to grow up and be more like their parents. It can go both ways.
Right.
So just something to think about.
For sure.
And feel about.
Yes. Well, and if you were born with key astrological points or planets in Taurus or Scorpio, this may be a challenging time for you with regards to your relationships and your senses and your sense of joy in those areas, because Taurus and Scorpio square Leo. Now, thinking back, the last time Venus transited through Leo was July 5th to October 8th, 2023. That was an extended period of time because Venus was retrograde. The time before that was August 11th to September 4th, 2022. So think back to those dates for clues on what could be in store for you this time around as Venus transits through Leo. The final transit of the week includes Venus as it moves into Leo. It immediately forms an opposition with Pluto, which the symbol of Pluto looks similar to Venus. It's a circle of spirit on top of a cross of matter, except Pluto has a crescent of receptivity in between the circle of spirit and the cross of matter, symbolizing the transformation that occurs to the eternal soul in the world of matter. Pluto is the god of death, lord of the underworld, the planet of transformation. Pluto's transiting retrograde through the fixed air sign, symbolized by the water bearer, Aquarius. So Venus transits this is all happening on Friday, July 11th. So Venus forms a trine to Neptune, moves into Leo, and then forms an opposition with Pluto. A lot happening, it feels like, with relationships the end of the week. Some transformative energy. You know, if you were born with the sun or Mars in that first couple of degrees of Scorpio or Taurus, look out. You may be experiencing some sort of difficult transformation to relationships.
And it sounds like it's a transformation that you might become aware of in a short period of time.
Yes. It's
like within a day.
Within a day.
You could become aware that something... Is it something that's already transformed or that needs to be transformed? Or how would you describe that experience?
I think of it as something's coming up within your unconscious that you're suddenly aware of, and then you're going through the transformation.
So you're suddenly in the transformation.
Exactly. Like you're like, whoa. Maybe it kind of pops up when Venus forms a sextile to Uranus. So it's earlier in the week. That's that planet of surprise, the unexpected. And that happens, kind of midweek, a couple days before.
But that's going to feel like a good surprise because it's a sextile, right?
Yes, indeed. But
although it depends on your relationship with surprises. Not everybody likes surprises.
Exactly. Well, and another way to think about it too is, where is Uranus aligning in your chart? Is it aligning with a planet in Leo or Aquarius? It might not feel so good. Or if you were born with key planets or astrological points in Aries or Libra, which that's going to be, those planets could be squared by Venus in Cancer. So for those individuals, and if you're not sure if that's you or not, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com, and I'll give you some clarity on how these transits are affecting you or on your astrological code in general. It's my purpose to help you understand who you are so you can accept, appreciate, and love the divine unique miracle that is you. I am a guide. I am here to serve you and help you along your journey of life. So, whatever this surprise is, good, bad, ugly, indifferent, there's some sort of awareness that is coming up here, maybe midweek, and then it crystallizes the end of the week, and you realize that something needs to change.
We always say in the dream space, it's really important to pay attention to what surprises you in the dream. Maybe in the dream, or maybe in waking life as you're recalling the dream, because that element of surprise is some information trying to break through.
Come through, yeah.
Something trying to come through.
Yes.
And the element of surprise can indicate that it had been blocked from you previously, but that there's some sort of a breakthrough that your ego is now allowing you to experience. So something from the unconscious coming up into consciousness that's a surprise is really important to pay attention to.
Well, there could be more surprises coming at the end of the week with this Venus opposite Pluto transit, because just think about it. Pluto's transiting through Aquarius. Aquarius is ruled by what planet? Uranus. The planet of the unexpected. Your Aquarius represents the community. So maybe you're expressing your heart, like you felt like you've been nurtured. Like in the beginning of the week, you're like, this is who I am. I know who I am now, and I'm asking other people who they are, and they're giving me their answers, and I'm processing it through my aura, my auric field, my heart. How's it feel? Okay, and now I'm nurturing myself in my relationships. Okay, I'm starting to feel more confident. Venus moves into Leo. Now I'm really confident. I'm ready to express who I am, the feelings of my heart in my close personal relationships. But then the group's like, you're that? That's who you are? And you're like, am I that? Maybe not. I don't know. Now I'm unsure. I'm unclear. because Pluto transiting through Aquarius is transforming our relationship to the group, to the community. And with Venus in Leo, it's urging you to open your heart in your relationships, but there may be tension between the expression of your heart and the collective. You may realize that what you like doesn't fit in with everyone else. Through that, can you still remain confident in who you are? Or are you going to hide your light under a bushel so you fit in with everyone else?
Well, I wonder if part of this too, this element of surprise, could indicate that maybe we've been living through our projections and not through how things really are.
Tell me more about that.
I think that's common. That can be one sort of reason why.
What does that mean?
We get surprised.
Living through your projections.
Well, a projection is when you take a part of your emotional experience and you project it onto another person as if it belongs to them. And we do that because everyone projects. We do that because oftentimes we're not ready to face parts of our experience. And so in order to interact with them and ultimately to heal, we need to experience it as if it belongs to another person.
Okay.
So what we're really doing is projecting a part of ourselves so that we can understand that material better. But as a result, we're putting something on someone that actually doesn't belong to them. And typically there's some sort of a hook, like maybe there's something, like if I project onto someone that they remind me of my mother, for example, maybe they do actually have like one thing in common with her. There's like a hook that allows me to then completely project the rest of my, whatever those qualities are of my mother that I need to work on, for example.
Yes.
What happens is you're no longer interacting with that person authentically for who they are.
Yes.
So sometimes there's an element of surprise. Like if that other person isn't willing to hold the projection and they say to you, this just doesn't belong to me. This is actually yours. Whatever this emotional experience is, that could be surprising.
Yes.
And it could shatter a projection that you might not have been ready to let go of yet. So that could also be a way this energy comes in, or that could be an indication sometimes of that experience of surprise, that someone is just not willing to be projected on.
Yes. I think that happens a lot with celebrities, public figures.
Absolutely.
Where they're like, I'm not that character, You think you know me, but you don't know me.
Right.
So you're projecting, like I've heard like soap opera actors are the best because people get so invested in the soap opera and then they see that the villainous character on the soap opera and they see that person on the street and they're like, I can't believe you did that to, it's like, it's a TV show. It's not real. I didn't really do that thing to that person, like back off, So yes, but I hear you.
That's an obvious example. And of course that happens in personal relationships a lot too.
Yes. Like I have experiences of you as my dad. I get angry at you about something. I'm like, this is just like my dad when I was 13 years old. And so, it's not fair to you.
It happens all the time.
Yes, it's not fair to you because you weren't a part of that experience, but there's something that you've done in the present that makes me, draws me back
there's a hook.
to that. Yeah, there's the hook.
There's a hook.
Yeah, and I get hooked to the back, to the past.
Yeah.
And I bring it back here. I reel it in and I blame you. Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah, so much fun. Yes. So this aspect with Venus opposing Pluto, that occurs from Thursday to Saturday, again with the exact opposition happening on Friday, July 11th.
It's a big week.
Yeah, that's the week.
Our question comes from Laura. I was born with the sun at 27 degrees in Aries and the moon at 23 degrees in Libra. How will the Venus square from Cancer affect me?
Awesome. Thank you, Laura, for your question. This week, Venus will be squaring your sun in Aries. Last week, it squared your moon in Libra. So you can tell us how that went for you, and you can tell us how Venus squaring the sun goes for you. You know, I think that the Venus squaring the sun and moon, the square sounds harsh, but it doesn't feel as harsh to me because it's Venus. So I think that there might be some bumps in the road for you in terms of your relationships or your senses. Certainly when Venus was squaring the moon, maybe there was some questioning about the origin of your likes and dislikes. And do I really like that? Where does that like come from? I'm not really sure. Maybe there's some confusion there. Maybe there are some circumstances in relationships where you're second guessing your likes and dislikes. With Venus squaring your sun in Aries, which happens this week, there's challenges in terms of your identity and how you identify what you like, what you don't like, and how that relates to your past. It doesn't necessarily mean that anything bad is happening to you. Maybe there's some discomfort in relationships. It's bringing up something from your past that is pushing you to really take a clearer look at who you are and what it is you like. But I'm curious to hear from you, Laura, and to hear how this interpretation, how it resonates with you or not.
I think these squares are often inviting us to slow down.
That's a great point, because like I always say, when you're driving down the street, if you're going to make a 90-degree left turn or a right turn, don't you slow down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, I'm thinking about a square just creates tension.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, when I feel tension, I slow down. It's like there's a weight to the square that's inviting you to pay attention to the tension.
Lucky for you. I mean, for me, when I feel tension, I might do the opposite. I speed up. So
yeah,
because it's like
to each their own. Because you want to get away from it.
Exactly. But in doing so, I might end up hurting myself or hurting someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's a great note to slow down. So Laura, slow down this week. Hopefully last week you were able to slow down as well, but this week slow down and just take your time to reflect upon the roots of your relationships, your senses, your likes and dislikes. Where do they come from? Where in your past do they come from? And which of these sensory impulses do you still identify with, and which do you not identify with?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when the moon's involved too. I think this could indicate taking some more time for yourself, spending some more time alone to process whatever's coming up.
Yes. What are you feeling?
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel?
Because the transits with our moon affect us really on our deepest level. And if you're looking for support during this time, really connecting with the right people who know you the most intimately, who really know that energy of the moon in Libra for you, I think is important. Who are you communicating with during this really sensitive time?
Great points. Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you, Gabriella.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. And thank you to all of our listeners. Laura, I hope this is helpful to you. I hope everything that we've shared is helpful to all of our listeners as well. And if anyone has Tom Cruise's birth time, send it my way. Until then, we'll see you next week.
Until then, bye.
Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit. If you're curious to learn how these transits or any others may be affecting you, or if you are interested in learning more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. If you're interested in delving into the world of psychotherapy with Gabriella, you can connect with her at innervisionpsychotherapy.com. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog Lyman. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.